So welcome everyone to this really exciting session called Your Next Chapter. Just to remind you, this event is part of the event series of the Outduction Week, which is this week. It's a really diverse event series. There will be events on disability support, how to look for jobs effectively tomorrow, next steps for international students. So this event is for international students specifically, pre-interview workshop, and even an event on Friday on mindfulness and relaxation. It's a great idea to attend these events, and this event today, which is the first one, will give you a great warm-up for all the other events that are happening this week, because we have a great, very diverse panel of speakers, and we appreciate that at this stage of your academic life and career, you may have loads of questions on your mind. And I can reassure you that it's a great idea to sign up to this event, because this diverse panel of speakers, I'm sure they will answer many of your questions. In the beginning of this session, we'll have Madeline and Tricia from the Student Counseling and Wellbeing, and they will talk about managing change and transition, the psychological and emotional experience of change. They'll give you their top tips for taking care of your well-being. And then a careers consultant, Rachel Stevens, will talk about how to articulate the value of your degree, the obvious as well as the hidden value of your degree. And then we'll move on to career support. And I'll talk about what is available at Career Center, what services you will have access to and for how long, and what the Leeds internship program has to offer to you. And then in the end, to give this session a very exciting and engaging ending, we'll have the Alumni Volunteering Officer Flo Mather and an Employer Progression Assistant Ayman Mahmoud with us, who will talk about the Alumni Community, the international as well as the diversity aspect of the community, what events and programs they organize, and also the opportunities to come back and become a mentor. Because this session is supposed to be going to be a very interactive one. Please put your questions in the chat box. Ask questions, as many questions as you would like. Put them in the chat box on the right-hand side, and our speakers will answer them. And the Q&A starting at 10 to 12 will be moderated by my lovely colleague Tom, who will read all your questions out to the speakers or maybe answer them. But if you are feeling really brave, just feel free to turn your camera and microphone on and ask the question verbally in the Q&A part. But at the same time, there is no reason to be brave because everyone is really friendly. So this is going to be a nice and friendly chat in the end. And now I'm going to hand over to Tricia and Madeline.
Hello, everybody, and it's really great that you've joined us today. It might be that the kind of change and transition that you're about to experience has kind of crept up on you, because we get so caught up in finishing assignments and exams, and that suddenly we turn around and it's kind of the end. And maybe that this is just an opportunity to think a little bit about that. So let's make a start in just trying to understand, what does that mean? What does this change and this transition period mean? But before we do that, I'll just hand over to my colleague Tricia just to introduce herself and say a little bit.
Hello everybody, I hope you can hear me okay. So my name's Tricia and I work with Madeline in Student Counselling and Wellbeing, and my job is really around sort of developing webinars and sort of events like this within Student Counselling and Wellbeing. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today about managing change and transition. So back to Madeline. Now.
Okay, so Rigo, if you can move on, that's brilliant. So maybe we thought it might be useful to just think a little bit about change and what happens when things change for us, because we can't avoid change. Change is an absolutely natural part of our life, and the good news is that you've already had lots of experience of change along the way. So bear that in mind. This isn't your first change. You've changed before. You changed certainly changed when you came here. But it's easy to overlook that it does have an impact on us, and it does take some time for us to adapt sometimes to change. There is no one way to manage change. Important to remember we're all different, we've all got different circumstances, so we will have different responses to the end of this particular experience in our life and the new beginnings to come. Some that will be negative, some that will be positive. It's very common during a period of change to experience increased levels of stress, because often change involves things we don't really know and not sure about. There's lots of uncertainty, but we do know that we do adapt. We're very good at adapting, and we will adapt to the change, and hopefully it will feel positive, but it may not feel like that just yet. We can draw, as I've said, on our coping skills, the way that we've managed change in the past, and keep reminding ourselves that we probably had rocky moments when we made changes in the past. So important to kind of prepare ourselves, but remind ourselves we do have resources. Okay, if we can go to the next slide, please, Rego. So really useful, I think, to think about our reactions to change can often be dependent upon whether we've chosen it and it's something we want to happen, whether it's imposed upon us but it still feels positive. It might be that it is chosen by us, but it doesn't feel good, or it's imposed upon us. And it's imposed upon us and feels negative. So there's different combinations, whether it's imposed upon us by others or we've brought it on ourselves and it doesn't feel good, or whether it's something we're looking forward to, something that we're welcoming. So you might be coming to this from different places. In some ways it is imposed upon you because it's the end of a fixed experience. But it still might feel that you're not ready for it, or you don't want it to end just yet. Some of you might think, I'm so pleased it's come, I've had to work so hard, or it's been difficult for many different reasons. I'm so pleased I've got to the end. But it's a change because you've achieved something. So I hope whatever the mixed feelings might be for different individuals, there is a holding on to the fact that you're here because you've achieved something. You've got through an experience and you're here and you're leaving, and you've hopefully done what you came to do. If not yet, you will soon. You know, not everybody finishes on the line, but we still often finish. Okay, so the next slide, please. So just to talk through the different responses that you might have, because that's one of the messages we want to convey to you today, that you might have a whole range of mixed emotions now over the next few weeks, over the next year, really, as you adapt to what is a really big kind of transition in your life. You know, prior to the end of your degree, it may be that you always knew what the next step was going to be, from being maybe age 5 when you first set off in education. You kind of had an idea of what would happen next. And this might be the first time you think, oh, now what's next up to me? And that might feel exciting. So we might have feelings of hope and optimism and happiness and kind of, whoa, this is over to me now. I'm in control. But alongside that, we might also think, oh, am I up to it? You know, what do I do? What am I meant to be doing? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull this next bit off on my own. We might feel confused because there's a huge amount of options out there. There's different paths we can take at this point. We might take some time off. We might decide to continue our studies. We might be looking for work. We might be just figuring out how to do the basics. How am I going to get money next month to pay my rent? You know, we're all in different positions, so there might be lots of different feelings. We might suddenly find from being around lots and lots of people you know, in a very busy campus life, a university life, we're often with lots of people of our own age group who are all at our same life stage, we might find it's a bit quieter and more isolated. Even if you stay in Leeds, lots of the people you know will move on. Some of you might be going back to your hometowns or your home countries. So, you know, it can be a bit of a reverse culture shock, you know, in the way that coming here, kind of, we had to step up and suddenly learn how to manage for ourselves. It can feel almost there's something about, ooh, kind of feel like I've lost some independence, or, you know, I'm back to a situation that feels very different around, you know, I'm not surrounded by my friends. So sometimes that can lead to low mood, you know, a feeling of depression, resenting the change, not wishing it hadn't changed, wishing things hadn't had to happen as quickly. Or so again, to expect those low moments, that's absolutely part of change. You know, it's not all about excitement. It can be about loss, the loss of things that we really liked, we really enjoyed, and we have to let go of. So there then kind of comes a period where we need to start adapting and accepting the situation, and beginning to engage in new ways of living our lives with new people around us, maybe in a new town, a new city. We may have to, you know, make decisions. We have to find things that we want to do. We might not be sure of what we want to do, but hopefully to harness the resources we've got, to give ourselves some time to understand that this kind of change and transition period can be really up and down, and to find some energy and some enthusiasm for what we want to do next. So if we can move on to the next slide, please, Rigo. So this is just visually what things might look like. So we start off with that kind of maybe excitement and you know, the momentous achievement, but then it's like, ooh, this is a big life change. Can I actually cope with it? We might not want to think about that. That might feel all very serious, very adult. So we might just want to hide away from it and kind of keep ourselves busy and not give it much thought and have a kind of denial. We might be feeling a whole range of emotions. Oh, I'm noticing I'm scared. I'm noticing I'm feeling a bit, maybe, you know, a little bit resentful of people who seem to be all sorted, and I'm not sure if I'm sorted or even know what I'm going to do. We might feel afraid, like what's going to happen? How am I going to pay my rent? What am I meant to do next? But we do come to a place where we start to adapt. So if you feel all of those things, I just want to say that's absolutely understandable and that's absolutely normal. And you will begin to adapt and you will become to accept the change. And you'll start to engage in the change. You'll start to, from the letting go, you'll start to engage, and you'll start to accept and move into the next part of your life. And there's going to be lots and lots of positive things in that part of your life as well. You might not see it to begin with, but so what do I need to do? How am I going to do it? How am I going to keep motivated? How am I going to keep my spirits up? How am I going to invest in this? And we might sometimes go a little bit backwards before we go forward. So sometimes we might try something, have energy for it and enthusiasm for it, and it might not work out. So we might go back to feeling a bit low. So it's not linear. It can be a little bit, you know, undulating, the change process. But it's all the things that you'll feel. I just want to say, that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Just trust that you're in a process that can be hard sometimes, but can also be really exciting, and the best things might come in the next part of your life. We don't know that yet, and we're not very good at dealing with uncertainty. We tend to, when we feel uncertainty, we tend to fill it with the worst case scenarios. Try not to do that. Try not to create the picture ahead too much, because we have to be willing to be flexible. So just the last slide from me, I think, is just to acknowledge, if we can change Rego. Yeah, just to acknowledge that you're also likely to be experiencing lots of multiple changes at once. So you might be moving from the place you live, with the people you live, going to a new town, a new city. We might be moving with new people. We might be starting a whole new lifestyle of 9 to 5 if we've got jobs already. We might be traveling. We might be engaged in some voluntary work, some further study at a different university, or so we can be on that change curve in lots of different parts of our life. So just to recognise that as well, we can be experiencing a lot of changes at once, and that can feel overwhelming. But again, just trust it, trust that process. We've got to go through it. So I'm going to, in order to kind of equip you with some tips and thoughts about, so how am I going to prepare myself for that? I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Tricia.
Yeah, Tricia, sorry to interrupt. You have achieved the end of your time limit, but I'm going to give you 3 more minutes to summarize your thoughts as well. And
yes, okay, yeah, okay. What I'll do is I'll just very quickly go through these slides, but very, very briefly. So what we wanted to do is just recognise that when we go through a period of change, it's really important to take care of our well-being. And we can sometimes be too busy and we might not give this our focus. So Rego, if you go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about 5 areas that are really helpful for managing your well-being. So this is based on an evidence-based framework called 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which hopefully you've heard of. Yeah, that's that. Thank you. So the first one is about connecting. So when you leave university, there'll be all sorts of friendships which go their separate ways. But we would just like to sort of emphasize how important it is to just think about those important relationships and keep working with those and stay in touch with people that you feel are important in your life. So yeah, so relationships are very important for looking after your well-being. Being active, having a routine whilst you're sort of your daily routine is so helpful actually when you've got a lot of change. So think about what you need to have sort of leisure time, keeping active, keeping your body moving, try and keep your routine that you've got at Leeds. Try and keep what's working for you in terms of activity, and getting outside is so helpful as well. Take notice, again, if you use a mindfulness app, if you do any kind of actions that help you to tune into the present moment, that can be really helpful when you're going through a transition, because we often feel a little bit overwhelmed and it's hard to sort of make decisions sometimes when we feel like that. So mindfulness can be really helpful, and you'll also have a chance to practice some mindfulness activities later in the week with James from Student Counselling and Wellbeing. Keep learning. You've been at university, you've had to have sort of academic assessment. Now's a chance for you to do something that you just enjoy without getting assessed. So if there's an old hobby that you used to enjoy, perhaps it's a time to come back to that now. Yeah, so learning new skills, that's often part of a transition, that we can develop new skills, we can do things that we haven't had time to do when we've been studying, which is really great. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is around, we've talked about take notice. There's some really useful activities that you can try as well to sort of ground yourself as well. There's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that you might have heard of. So this again is about just being kind to yourself, noticing what's happening to you. So moving on to the last slide, that's give. So again, when we're moving on in our lives, we might have a new place that we're living, new flatmates, new workmates. Just reaching out and carrying out acts of kindness really boosts our confidence and can also give us sort of hits with our neurochemicals. So serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, which is a feel-good hormone. So if we can do acts of kindness, that's so helpful for our well-being as well. And finally, we've got a slide here which is about this sort of noticing what you're saying to yourself. If you can encourage yourself, support yourself, think about the way that you're speaking to yourself and try and think, would I speak like that to a good friend? So trying to be your own best friend, your own supportive coach during this time of transition whilst you're moving on to the next part of your journey. And last slide, Madeline, just a few tips on last slide. Madeline, do you want to go through those?
Yeah, that's fine if you change it. Yeah. So just overall, we want you to acknowledge and accept however you're feeling about this. Be very patient with yourself. Give yourself the chance to adjust, and there's no fixed period on that. You know, some people adjust quicker than others. Be aware of giving yourself internal demands. Oh, I should be sorted out and I should have moved on and I shouldn't be missing people. Try not to do that. It's never helpful. It often makes us feel unhappy with ourselves. Practice being, as Tricia says, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself in the way you would to a friend who's going through this period. Focus on taking action where you can, even if that's tiny actions. Small actions often generate energy. So if you feel stuck, just do something small to achieve something. Stay very connected to the present moment. Try not to go way off into the future where you're imagining the worst case scenarios. Try just to live in the moment and do what you can. Get moving physically. If you can't get moving, if you get psychologically stuck, just move your body. Just go and do something active, a walk, anything. Just keep moving. Make time for rest and relaxation. You might have to job hunt, but you also need to relax and you need to recharge, and sleep's really important for that. So try to allow yourself to switch off. And remember, it's all right to ask for help and support. It's absolutely fine. We all need it. We know that we do better when we're connected. So allow yourself to reach out for that. And there is help and support around. So it's about giving yourself permission. So I know it's a little bit of a whirlwind tour, but that's just introducing the idea that, you know, you're about to go into something that's a big thing really in your life. So just be kind to yourself. That's it from us, Rego.
Thank you very much, Madeline and Tricia. This is a great introduction to how to manage transition and change, how to monitor your well-being and make sure it's fine. So thank you for your expertise and time. I know you have to leave now. Have a nice day. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Just one thing, Rego, before we leave, and we just want to let people know that if there is something that you'd particularly like to talk about in relation to your change, then we do have a same-day drop-in through the university, through the student counselling service. So you can just get in touch with the service, and we can send you the link, and people can come and just have a quick 20-minute talk with one of our practitioners if that's something that they think might be helpful. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll send you the link. You can send it out. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the next section of this presentation, which is the value of your degree. And we have careers advisor Rachel Stevens with us. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, apologies if you don't like dairy because it's going to get cheesy up in here right now. So yeah, if you want to go on to the next slide. So after this quick chat, hopefully you'll come away knowing the obvious and the hidden value of your degree. Obviously, there's some things that you know you're getting out of it. You'll know just how much you've achieved and what you need to do to build on your degree and your achievements. Okay. So the obvious value of your degree, there is obviously something apart from the love of learning and the love of your subject that you decided to do your degree for, and that might be because it's the key to further study, to graduate jobs and graduate schemes. Obviously, there's been evidence that shows that you have a higher earning potential if you do have a degree, and you'll have specialist knowledge. So whatever it was that you studied, you'll know a lot about a particular area after 3 years of studying it. Which is obviously very, very valuable going forward on into your career. And also, just like apart from the academic side of it and the employment side of it, the value of your degree, like you've got an experience now of the university experience of having like loads of fun and friends and sleeping until 2 p.m. and eating pancakes over the sink. Like there's just so much stuff that you do get out of your degree that is, apart from like the sort of academic side, that's really good fun. So all this is kind of like the obvious stuff that I hope you already know. Rigo. So you might be thinking, oh, thanks, Captain Obvious. Cheers. So yeah, the hidden value of your degree. So one thing that you might not realise is that you've learned how you learn best. Okay, so do you learn best in the morning, or like what do you study best at night? Do you like learning with like studying with music on, or do you need silence? Are you a visual learner? Do you learn by doing? Do you have to do something like loads of times in order to learn best? Also, by doing this degree, you've been able to learn to work in a hybrid way. So obviously the pandemic has made us all, work in a hybrid way. So it means that it opens you up to more jobs, because now you're not afraid of technology that you might have been had you not had the experience of doing your degree during a pandemic. So it means you can work anywhere. You can, be on a beach in Hawaii, working for somewhere in London, and it just gives you a lot more freedom. You're also a lot more resilient. Okay, so a degree makes you resilient anyway, because of the requirements to go through like multiple years of like lots of demands on your time. You're juggling a workload. You might be doing lots of different modules and working part-time and volunteering, or like looking after family or whoever, but you're even more resilient now for having done it during this difficult time. Okay, and also now that you can do difficult things. So when something difficult comes along in the future, you'll be more confident to take a stab at it than if you hadn't already conquered some difficult things. Okay, and because you're more likely to attempt difficult things in the future, you're more likely to achieve success, however you define it. Okay, next slide. So your achievements over the last few years. So obviously you've studied during a pandemic. That's a huge thing. And in the grand scheme of things, how many people can say that they've graduated and got their degree during a pandemic? Like, it's obviously a once in a lifetime thing, but you've done it. You've actually like not only got your degree, but you've got it during a pandemic, which I can't say enough. Like, obviously all the sort of isolation, having to learn online, like it's amazing. And I hope that you have really appreciated like how amazing that is, and the fact that you've adapted to a changing world. So like obviously no matter where you are in your life, like none of us have experienced this before, and the fact that you're all still here and you've adapted, that is also incredible. So that's another thing that you can sort of add to your list of achievements. You've also grown your network, so whether it's people in your course, your tutors, whether you did like interns, an internship, or a year in industry, you'll have gone out and you'll have made all these new connections who are now part of your network. So you can use them in the future going forward. They're going to be really helpful to you, whether they could be future like colleagues, future bosses, you never know, but that's another achievement that you've got. And especially if you're kind of quite a shy person, going out and growing your network will have been a real achievement. And along the way as well, you'll have increased your confidence, and we'll talk a bit more about sort of your confidence and your comfort zone in a minute. But yeah, like I'm sure there's things you feel much more confident about now as opposed to sort of 3 years ago. And then you've got to think about what else have you done that is sort of an achievement for you. Like obviously I can sit here and say generically what your achievements are, but maybe you did a year in industry or an internship. Maybe you started a business. Maybe, I don't know what it is. What is an achievement that's specific to you? So for example, like when I was at university, I really struggled to stay awake in lectures. And so for me, staying awake in a lecture was a massive achievement. And so like, that's obviously not going to be the same for everybody. But to me, if I was able to stay awake, no matter how interested I was, I'd always fall asleep. So if I stayed awake, it was a big achievement. Okay, so just have a think when you're thinking about your achievements. What can you do today that you couldn't do a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Okay, and that in itself is an achievement. No matter how big or how small, it's an achievement. So you should be proud of yourself. Okay, next slide, please. So yeah, if you look at these two sort of diagrams here, at the beginning, the one on the left is kind of like how I imagine you might have been at the beginning of your university degree. Okay, so maybe you had quite a small comfort zone. Maybe you hadn't travelled or like moved to a different town or left home. Maybe you haven't like got much work experience or done any volunteering or, taken on something that's like a 3-year commitment before. But over time, because you've had to go into your stretch zone, your comfort zone has naturally got bigger because you got more and more comfortable doing things that were sort of outside of what you would normally do. And that has grown your comfort zone. So like now, I imagine you're more like the diagram, the circle on the right. So you are comfortable doing a much bigger range of things. And if you continue to do this, imagine what your comfort zone, the size of your comfort zone will be in, you know, another 5 years or another 10 years, the things that you can do and the things that you can achieve of. Like maybe right now, it just feels like a pipe dream. But in 10 years, you could be doing things that you never thought you were capable of. So if you look back at how you were before uni and where you are now, and then like keep projecting that image on in the future, I hope that gives you some sort of like motivation that actually you can go on and do a lot of things that you didn't think you were capable of. And also, this is where the cheese is starting to come in. There's a quote that I love called, as it goes, "You didn't come this far to only come this far." Okay. So when you started, I imagine you had some sort of plan as to why you were doing your degree, and you like I said, like the quote goes, you didn't come this far to only come this far. So what are you going to do as a result of this going forward? Like, what else are you going to add to your list of achievements? Was it a stepping stone onto something else? Like, do you have a big plan for something? So yeah, what else are you going to do? Okay, next slide, please. So set a goal that excites you. You might have heard about having a why. So like have a why is like, what are you doing all this for? Why are you doing it? So if you set a goal that excites you, it has to have such a strong why behind it that it can sustain you through difficult things. So if your goal doesn't excite you and maybe even like scare you a little bit, you won't be motivated to take action. So what is it that you want to do? What if you could pick a huge goal, what would that be? Would it be to sort of like, I don't know what degree disciplines you've all come from, but would it be to like run your own gallery or revolutionize sort of your specific field of engineering or revitalize a community? You know, maybe you're passionate about community development. I don't know what it is, but what is your goal and why do you want to do that? What is it about that goal that means so much to you? Okay, and then once you've got this goal, work out the steps that you need to take. Okay, so what do you need to get there? Who do you need help from? What skills do you need to learn? What resources will you need? How can you get them? And just remember that it's all doable, but you just need a plan and some clear actions. So yeah, just make it. And like the previous speakers will say, if you make small progress every day, that can add up to big results. And another cheesy quote, journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Okay, so just focus on your very next step. What's the first thing you need to do? And don't worry about the whole staircase, just the first step. And a little hint here, you can use the career service. So come and talk to us about, you know, what you're passionate about, what you're inspired by, what you want to do. Or maybe if you don't know, we can help you figure it out as well. And we can help you with like job applications and figuring out what your career purposes, CVs, interviews, all that sort of thing. So yeah, come and use us. Okay, next slide, please. So going forward, I would like to encourage and challenge you to be brave and take chances. So if there's something like an internship or a job that you're not sure that you can do, but the idea of doing it really excites you, go for it. Aim high. Go for roles that stretch you. So like those circles, like where your comfort zone is, go for the things that are in your stretch zone. And just remember that it's possible to get to where you want to be. Because like I said, you're already doing things that you probably didn't think were possible 3 years ago. So imagine if you keep doing that and keep stretching, what you can do going forward. And last cheesy quote, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you've imagined. And yeah, I look forward to seeing all your successes in the future. That's me done.
Thank you, Rachel. Great motivation for Monday. And thank you. This is really inspirational. Now we'll move on to how the Career Center can help you. So believe it or not, as a graduate, you can re-register on My Career for a graduate account, and you will have access to My Career and the My Career services for the rest of your life. Just to reiterate, and as you might know, we work at Career Center with range of organizations, over 5,000 companies, including Rolls-Royce, United Nations, NATO, P&G, Deloitte, Coca-Cola, big corporates, as well as small and medium-sized enterprises, even startups. And we advertise their vacancies on My Career, which I'm sure you have come across. So you can view vacancies there, you can filter them, look for vacancies at any point in your career, even after you have graduated. The same applies to the events that we organize. If you go to My Career, look at the events calendar, you'll be able to see the range of events that are happening, which are available to graduates. This could be employer-led events, skills-based workshops, career fairs, alumni panel talks, all kinds of events that you can imagine. And the same applies to appointments as well. You can still book one-to-one appointments with our expert careers advisors even after graduation. There is drop-in service for quick guidance. They will give you information on visas, how to start your own business, academia, research, what to do if you would like to return to your home country to work or to work in an international field, how to apply for jobs in the UK or elsewhere. And you can still book appointments, as I said. This could be same-day appointments. This could be mock interviews, various kinds of appointments. And of course, you can still send us email queries via My Career and access a lots of resources. And here, I'd like to mention that you will still have access to the Leeds internship program as well. So let's say you are looking for a graduate job. If you apply through the Leeds internship program, there are a range of benefits that you have access to. The work placements team at Career Center work in collaboration with many organizations, and they help these organizations shortlist students, review applicant CVs, review students' cover letters, and help them prepare for interviews and do the interviewing as well, and even help the companies prepare their opportunities. So in return, what these organizations do, they offer their opportunities exclusively to University of Leeds students. And therefore, if you apply through the Leeds internship program, you don't have to compete against students from different universities. So this is a great opportunity. There are graduate roles available through the Leeds internship program. So if you scan that QR code, that will take you to the place where you can view and apply for vacancies. This could be big organizations, SMEs, charities, national organizations. And now I hand it over to Flo and Eamon from the Alumni Community.
Thanks very much, Rego. So yeah, hi, I'm Flo. I'm the Alumni Volunteering Officer at the alumni team, and I'm really pleased that today Eamon is here with us as well. Sorry, that's falling out of my ear. So when Rego asked me to talk a little bit about the alumni community, I thought rather than me just going on, it would be better to kind of hear from a graduate who's been through it all before and can tell you a bit about her experience with the alumni community as well. So I'm really pleased to introduce Eamon, who is a 2019 English Literature graduate, who is now also working with us in the career service as an employability and progression assistant. So hi, Eamon. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Flo. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So I'll ask Eamon a few questions in a moment, but just to introduce you to the idea of what the alumni community is, we have over 300,000 Leeds graduates in the alumni community. So it's a lot of people, and that is over 180 countries as well. So it's a really massive global community, people all over the world, some people who have come to Leeds and returned to their home country, some who've stayed in Leeds as well. So it's a really diverse and interesting community. So I'll get into a few questions with Eamon now. So first of all, Eamon, how did you feel when you were approaching graduation, like these students are? And also, had you heard the word alumni before?
So I'm going to start with the second part of that question first. I had heard the word alumni before because like an English student, I read a lot, I researched a lot as well, but I didn't really understand what it could mean for me. Like I knew I was an alumni of my high school, of my college, but no idea what that word, what being that for an educational institution did for me. And then I came to the University of Leeds, and it became much more clearer. Like, we had at my time, we had the Leeds Network, where we could get in touch with alumni and ask for their support and ask any questions. And it became a lot clearer what the alumni and university relationship would mean for me once I graduated. So I had that in my arsenal while I was getting ready to graduate, which was useful. It was really reassuring to know that I had my university behind me even long after I'd left. But in terms of outside of that, how I felt approaching graduation was, one word answer, very overwhelmed. Well, that's 2 words. Very, very overwhelmed. Like, it was very stressful. I had no idea where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. But again, I knew that the career service was there. I kept going back to them, having conversations. I knew that I could come back and speak to anyone if I needed to. So even though it was overwhelming, I still knew that I would find my path eventually. I might stumble on the way there, but I'd get there in the end.
Oh, fantastic. And you mentioned the Leeds Network there. And so I just wanted to mention for anyone listening, you probably won't know about that. It's an online community of alumni who are there to support students in finding their career path. And it's just been on hold at the moment because of different technical reasons, but we're really hoping to get that up and running soon. So you'll really be able to harness the power of alumni to help you with your careers. And in the meantime, there's loads of networking you can do through LinkedIn and other means as well. So back to our questions. Emin, what surprised you about being in the alumni community?
I think just how much was at offer. Not like, as a student, I had all these like opportunities to get involved with mentoring schemes, and then when I graduated, I had all the opportunities to become a mentor or to attend events, or for instance, like, do things for the University of Leeds, like give back in a way that also helped me. Like, for instance, I've recently written an article for the Plus program called Career Planning: What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do, kind of speaking to who I was as a student at the time, approaching graduation, and kind of trying to nail down those concerns that I know students have at that stage. And writing that has been refreshing to kind of look back and think how I was in my final year when everything seemed so overwhelming, and in a way just support students in a different way to my current role as well. So it's been really exciting to get involved with all these different opportunities and give back to a university that I love being at.
Yeah, it's so fantastic to have the support of alumni like you who want to kind of share what they've learned and share their experiences with students as well. And there's so many opportunities to do that as an alum and to also benefit from it. I mean, events that you've kind of mentioned happen online and in person and include career support events specifically for graduates who've kind of just graduated as well, where alumni are talking about their experiences and sharing that with you. And there's also support through alumni newsletters that you'll get every month, and podcasts as well. I know, Emin, you're a big fan of Chris Pine, Hollywood star, and he was recently on the alumni podcast as well. So there's all sorts of exciting things to get to hear about, because I'm sure many of you won't know that Chris Pine actually studied at Leeds, which is really cool.
And I mean, he did study at my school, by the way.
Yeah, very, very cool. So you can hear about what Leeds was like for him if you look for the podcast. So that's just going back to our questions. So you mentioned you've written the article, which is amazing. Is there any other volunteering that you've done at Leeds so far, and are you hoping to get involved in anything in the future?
I'm thinking about if I've done anything other than that as an alumni, and I don't think that I have at this stage, but I'm already in conversations with the mentoring team at Leeds to be a mentor for the next year, which I'm really, really excited about. It's just another way to firstly just build my own professional skills, but also support students who might be coming from the same place as I was. I know a lot of those students on those schemes are students who do have trouble building networks, and someone who's been in that kind of a situation, is just wonderful to have the opportunity to give back in that way.
Yeah, thank you, Emin. And so thinking a bit about that amazing article that you've written that I've shared in the chat as well. Do you have any kind of tips or advice for those of us that don't have a set career path in mind?
My advice that I live by and I always give to everyone who's in the same situation is just be open to opportunities. I'm a massive fan of the planned happenstance theory, which is basically that, in a nutshell, what it means to me is that if you're open to opportunities and things that come your way, eventually you will find like a path that works for you. All you have to do is just be willing to take risks, be flexible. And when I've done that in the past, I've realized that when I've been open to things I didn't think I would want to do, those have actually been the most fun times of my life, and they've been the most rewarding. Like, very realistically speaking, I never saw myself coming to the University of Leeds as a graduate intern, but I really enjoyed the past 6 months in this role. And if I'd convinced myself I needed to like follow a set path, I might not have applied for this job. And now that I have, it's completely changing what I feel like I'm going to be doing 10 years from now.
Yeah, amazing. You just never know what's around the corner. So, Emin, what do you wish that you had known as a new graduate, thinking back to that time?
Similar to my previous answer, just that it's very easy as a student and as someone approaching graduation to think you need to have like a 2, 3, 5, 10-year plan. You need to be doing these things. You need to meet these kinds of like checkpoints to feel accomplished, to feel successful. And I realized that that's, for me at least, that's a really bad way of looking at it, because even in my life, I'm very open to flexibility, to change and things like that. And I was wondering why I'm not translating that fact to my career. And when I realized that I need to be open to like a zigzagging career path rather than just like a point A to point B and that's the end, everything became a lot easier. It felt like it was less pressure. It felt like everything was most exciting. I didn't feel like I was going to burn out just by thinking, oh, I'm not where I thought I would be at this stage. So my advice to graduates is always have a plan, definitely, but don't think that it's like written in stone. Things might change, and actually they will change, but everything is going to end up being for the best. Like, every opportunity is going to give you experience that's going to serve you probably like 10, 15 years from now, wherever you might find yourself to be. Every skill you learn is transferable. So don't think anything is useless.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. That's like such a like optimistic and great way of viewing things. And so just my final couple of questions. What do you miss the most about uni life, and what do you miss the least?
Oh, so what I miss the most is that I'm actually quite glad that I do work at the University of Leeds, because I still kind of have the campus like feel. But what I miss the most is actually my school. So I was in the School of English. It was an absolutely amazing like environment. I used to love sitting in the common areas. And just like about a week ago, I just went and sat down there working during the day because I just missed it that much. I missed that environment that much. So I do still miss that. It's obviously different now being a staff member compared to being a student, but I get a bit of a feeling of that, but definitely miss that environment as a student. What I miss the least is that I used to commute to Leeds as a student, and I definitely do not miss commuting in for a 1-hour lecture and basically spending 3 hours traveling throughout the day for a 1-hour lecture. Don't miss that. I don't want to go back to that ever again.
Yeah, definitely that you need that time in your life now that you have not commuting. Oh, well, thank you so much, Emin. It's been lovely to just have you on for a couple of minutes talking about what being part of the alumni community has meant to you. And I'll just pop a link in the chat to our alumni website, which tells you a bit about, you know, being involved in the alumni community. And you can always get in touch with us if you want to hear more. And welcome to the alumni community.
Thank you very much, both of you. This is really insightful and inspirational. Thank you. Now, before we move on to the Q&A part of this event, which is the last part of it, I'm just going to remind you that this event today is just part of an event series happening this week. And I'm going to put the link to the event series in the chat now. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to view and sign up to all the other events which are happening this week. And these events are really exciting, so please take a look at it. Tomorrow there will be an event on how to look for jobs effectively. There will be a mindfulness relaxation event. There will be a pre-interview workshop, recruitment hints and tips, various kinds of events. So please take a look at what is happening. And also I'd like to reiterate that this event is being recorded, and the recording link will be sent to you in a follow-up email, and it will be uploaded to My Career as well. And now we'll move on to the Q&A part, and we have Tom with us, who is going to moderate the Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Regis. I'm a little bit redundant at the moment because we've not got any questions in the chat just yet. But yeah, thanks everyone for your contributions today. If anyone's got any questions that they'd like to ask now to any of our panel, so for Flo, for Emma, or for Rachel, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you're feeling brave, like Regis said, come on mic or camera. I'll just give you a few seconds to do that if you want to.
Don't let him off easy, guys. Ask him questions.
I'm going to redirect it straight to you, Rachel, if they come in. It doesn't look like anybody's gonna ask anything. But as Rego said, make sure to we've got a whole week of events coming up. So if there's anything you want to have a look at any of the sessions, anything, I'll be interested in that. Make sure you register for it. I'll be doing a session tomorrow with Mark Stewart, another careers consultant, on how to look for jobs effectively. That's in person. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along today, and I'll hand back over to you, Rego.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. And I'd like to say thank you for all the presenters for your insights and expertise. It's really inspirational, very motivational, Rachel. And thank you everyone. Thank you for your insight as well, Eamon. Thank you for coming, even though you are in Denmark. Thank you. So have a nice.
We've got a couple of questions actually in the chat that just came through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So got one for you, Rego.
Okay, so hi Rego, there are some in-person events at the Career Center this week. They'll be recorded in case we can't attend. So that will be one tomorrow. I don't think it will be recorded because it's in person. No, they won't be recorded. So if you can, please come tomorrow and attend it in person, because it won't be recorded.
Yeah, there was just another question about visa, which Rachel has helpfully put a link in, so you can click on that and find out more about. And as Rachel says, yeah, doing my job for me, you can chat to the student visa advice service as well. So thanks Rachel for that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's just been another one, Rego. Are there any activities in the following next week or month?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So first of all, please look at what events are happening this week, because these are probably the most important events which are happening in the end of this academic year. So just follow the link which I sent you. That will take you to the place where you'll find all the events. In terms of the weeks after, if you know how to, if you go on My Career and click on search, then it will take you, and click on events. That will take you to the events calendar, and you'll be able to see all the events which are happening right now. But even next week, just looking at the calendar, there will be postgraduate career support, PhD placement opportunity session, Spark business registration workshop events online. There will be events for sure. Just go on the events calendar and you'll be able to see all of them. If you're not sure how to look at it, how to find the events calendar, please let us know. Okay. Any other questions? That's great. Thank you. Okay, this session has come to an end. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for the expertise and ideas for all the presenters. Thank you for your help, Tom, and thank you for coming, Eamon. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.